had an unbelievable fight Saturday from the UK, the sons of. We had Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn, and like you said, wow, did they live up to it and then some. Incredible. We did the live stream. It's still up there for everybody. Want to go back, listen to Teddy's call during the fights. It was a lot of fun. Thought you were great. We had a good amount of viewers and comments and interaction. And it was fun to have all those people with us during such a great fight. I thought just from the opening, bud, when Chris Eubank Sr. arrives and they show him on camera, special.
Wow. Wow, that was a wow moment. That was a wow moment. And I think I usually don't get carried away with those moments. You know, they're great. They're beautiful. But how much impact do they really have? You know, usually it's overstated. This was not overstated. I think it had impact.
I couldn't agree more. It was powerful. It gave me goosebumps. It was emotional. You could feel it, the energy, the stadium feeding off of it. And I do think, to your point, it added the strength maybe needed to Eubank. Coming in, 160-pound fight, he did look drained. He did look like a guy who was a little bit of a shell of himself in those ways. And 18-foot ring, nowhere to hide. And Ben came all night.
He didn't want, but it turned out maybe the 18-foot ring at the end. Here's the crazy thing about boxing, ironically. And you're 100% onto something here. But here's the thing I'm onto. Maybe, ironically, yeah, the small ring benefited to those, you know, the guy who was going to be aggressive, the guy who didn't want to fight on the outside, the guy who had to win on the inside. That would be Ben. But how much of a twist of fate is it that in the end, that the smaller ring might have served Eubank because he was forced because he's an older guy. His legs were starting to give a little bit. You know, both of them had been through the wars. I mean, he was forced to then bite down and fight in a smaller geography. He was forced to, and that actually won the fight. That's the thing about this fight, that the area that he was supposed to win in on the outside, in the end, the opposite area, the area that Ben was supposed to win in, Eubank won in. He down the stretch. He went into they went mano a mano. He basically said, anything you could do, I could do better. Okay, you want to fight inside? There's been a lot of talk that when you get inside, you're going to tear me up on the inside. You know what? Here I am. Let the best man win. Wow. That's the way it gets done. That's the way it should get done. That was magnificent. It was magnificent.
And it really was. It was special. It made me emotional watching and feeling the crowd. As you always say, they are the greatest fans, the UK fans. It's awesome just to watch it from television.
See, they proved it again. And so don't yell out there, I love you Mexicans. I love the Irish. I love the Puerto Rican. I love the American. I love all of you, the Filipinos. Please don't be mad if I left anyone out. I love you all. You're all passionate. You're all great. There's nobody better. Nobody been around longer. Nobody that has more history with this great sport than those blokes across the pond. And I know they're enjoying their Guinnesses. I know that the Ben fans, I hope so. I hope that the Ben fans and the Eubank fans got together for a cold Guinness or two, because the English are known for having maybe two. Get together for one or two and toast each other. Just toast each other for a special night, because it was special. And before I let you take us through the rest of it, I will just say this. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to both those fighters. There was a lot of crap going on, a lot of stuff. And you know what? At the end, they made it all irrelevant. They made the crap irrelevant. Because the only thing we're talking about now, we're not talking about the problems with the father, with the son. We're not talking about the egg, which was not a good thing. But we're not talking that the egg was washed away. Everything was washed away by their performance. And that's what it should always be about.
Yeah, and the whole thing was special. I mean, besides the history and the rivalry and 30 years later, getting the sons to fight, they sat both of the dads next to each other. Watched the whole entire fight side by side. You never see that.
Two gentlemen, two English gentlemen, and both of them showing their love for their sons. I mean, the one in defeat, Ben kissing his son. I mean, how poignant was that? Hugging him and consoling him. And I wanted to almost reach out to them and say, hey, there's nothing to cry about. You won. You won. You didn't need your hand. You didn't need your hand raised. You won. You won. You in the way you performed for a lifetime. That will never be forgotten, that performance. And so to see that, to see the human part, to be reminded that these are human beings. These are not, robots. These are not, as much as they can be gladiators, they're human. They bleed. They hurt. They sorrow. They get they fear. They doubt. They do all the things that we all do. But in the end of the day, they do what we all want to do and try to do in our own way. They fight. We all want to fight. We all want to fight. And to me, the only way I could describe it last night, in the end, was it went back to our primal existence, really to our primal existence of all men, of all mankind, where there was a time where you either conquered or you got conquered. Really, it was that, to me, it was that basic. And that's what they were fighting for. They forgot about the money. They forgot about this. They forgot about the hype. They forgot about the promotional skills. They forgot about the fathers. They forgot about everything. It was about conquer or be conquered. And I don't think either one of them got conquered.
No, I agree with that.
I think it was magnificent.
Yeah, from start to finish and back and forth. We were paying attention, talking during the live stream on some of the live betting lines, and Vegas was all over the place. 1 minute Eubank's 2-1 favorite, then he's the underdog, then he's the favorite. And that's how the fight was going. I thought in the middle rounds, Eubank's size, experience on the outside, his jab, he started to pull away a little bit. And then here comes Ben storming back, and it looks like Eubank is a putter on a hot summer day, as you would say, about to evaporate, and Ben might get the knockout in the 10th round, and he digs deep. And I go back to what we said earlier, the strength of the last name, but his father being there. I felt like that helped him and served him. And on Ben, again, credit to him, but I go back to his past, where some people were down on him, especially some of the UK fans, with the doping tests and the issues that he's had outside the ring as well. And on this one given night, by the way that they behaved and how they performed, I think everybody became a fan of both those guys and forgot whatever feelings you may have had before that one. But a special fight, special night.
Yeah. Or was it was like walking into a classroom back in the days when they had blackboards and erasers. I don't know if anybody remembers those days other than me. And
I do.
Yeah, I remember because I had some of those erasers thrown at my head by the teacher. But anyway, I digress. Back to the blackboard and the eraser. It's like back in the days when you walked in the classroom and there was a lot of stuff written on a blackboard from previous days. And the teacher walks in and says, let's clear this blackboard. And let's start a new lesson. That's what it was. Let's clear this blackboard, just erase this blackboard. And here we are today. What can we learn today? And that was it. That was it. And go ahead, bud. Be the teacher. Be the teacher. What can we learn today?
It was well, first off, I agreed with the decision. Did you feel like it went to the right man? It was close. I thought it went to the championship rounds.
I saw it kind of like an Arturo Gatti, a Gatti Ward fight, where, especially the first one, where there were chapters in a book, where each one had a different chapter, where there was different, that there was tides that when, there was changing of tides, coming in, going out. There was back and forth. That's what makes a great fight. The back and forth of the fight. One guy has control, the other guy, and it could be for 3-4 rounds. Then the other guy takes control, and it could be for 3-4 rounds or whatever. And then so on. I thought it had all the dynamics you need in a great story. If you're gonna read a book or watch a movie that's gonna keep your attention, you want things that move your emotions, that change your emotions, that give you emotion, and also give you pause to think, and maybe even pause to wonder, to doubt. Is it going to go this way? Is this the way the book's going to end? Oh, wait a minute. Now it takes a twist. Oh, the movie's going to end this way. Wow, I didn't see that coming. Who did it? The butler did it? Oh, wow, there's intrigue. There's a mystery. That's what this fight encompasses. That's what great fights do encompass. I thought early on the tempo, the geography of the fight was being controlled by Eubank. I thought that he was fighting the fight that I expected, that we expected, I think. On the outside, bigger man, using his bigger reach and his bigger size in the way of counterpunching, using his jab, looking to catch Benn before he got close. And I thought Benn was a little over anxious early, maybe still charged up a little bit, still angry a little bit maybe, about the egg, about that he had to wait in the ring. That was a smart move there by the Eubanks. They're pretty smart, those people. The father, he was an expert at that kind of stuff. Getting the little edge, getting the little advantage, promotionally, knowing how to tweak his opponent, making him wait a little bit on a cold night. They all had the coats on. They were all dressed up, ready to go. But he had to wait. Benn had to wait for the Eubanks to come in. So maybe he was a little over anxious. He was throwing bombs. He was doing the things that I didn't think he should do at that point where you're reaching in for big shots with a guy who's got the reach on you. And if you do that, you make yourself vulnerable. You make yourself available. And he did. He did in spots. But he didn't take on too much damage because he was moving his head. But there was spots where he got a little top heavy. He got a little over anxious. And then all of a sudden, he steadied the ship. He started to close the gaps a little better, a little cleaner, without as many mistakes, without as many opportunities for Eubank to counter him. And he started to get into the geography he wanted. I think what hindered him was when he did get there, Bud. We talked about it last night on detail, to great detail, where he did get there where he needed to be if he was going to win a fight. That's Benn. He allowed himself to be tied up, which Eubanks does, because he figures I'll beat you on the outside, I'll tie you up on the inside when I have to. Why give you a chance to work where you have your only chance to win? That's smart boxing. So I thought that in that part of the fight, early on, Benn could have done a better job of stepping back, keeping his hands from going behind the guy, keep his hands in punching position, rotate his shoulder, shove off a little, bump off a little with the shoulder. Keep the flow going. Keep a little distance where he won't get tied up. And then I also thought that he should have used his jab more. I thought that being a little anxious hurt him because he's looking for the big shots with that guy who's going to box on the outside. He should have used his jab to close the gap, to take away the jab, negate the jab of Eubank, at least give Eubank something to think about and to respect coming back at him, where it wouldn't be as easy for Eubank to pot shot him, put bugs on the windshield with the jab. And I thought he could have done that, and then suddenly he started doing it a little bit better. So, again, the ebbs of tides going back and forth. Early on, Eubank, his geography on the outside to use his skills as being a bigger, longer man. And then all of a sudden, Benn getting in close, using his skills, being the offensive fighter, the guy who likes to go upstairs and downstairs and put together the punches. Then all of a sudden, back outside, back and forth. And then came the moment. Came the moment where it looked like Eubank was in control of pretty much of the theme of the fight, the pace of the fight, and he started to tire. He started to tire. The pressure. The pressure started to look like it might have wore a little bit on the 34-year-old's legs. A little bit. That pressure
And
does
the rehydration clause, maybe.
And maybe the rehydration clause. Like I always talk about, the pressure takes time to show itself. It's like putting money in the bank and you want interest. You're not going to get interest in the first week. It's going to take a few months to get interest. It's going to take some rounds to get interest with the pressure. He started to get interest. He started to get inside a little bit easier. And more importantly, and this was the turning point, all of a sudden, in those late rounds, Ben started to keep his hands free. He started to take steps back. It was brilliant. Little steps back to keep room where he didn't get smothered, where he didn't get tied up. And suddenly the fight was back in his hands. He was catching up. He was coming on. It was like watching a great, horse race. Coming down the stretch. And here comes Secretariat. And, it's a champion's move. The champion was making a move, because he knew he had to. And then all of a sudden, and here's really the moment. I've already made 3 moments. I'm sorry, but that's how great it was. But here's the real moment. And I dare anyone out there, English or non, I dare anyone to argue with me on this. All of a sudden, a moment of truth where Eubank was asked that question. Do you want it? How much do you want it? Okay, you really do? Okay, your leg's a little older. You're 34. Yeah, you're a little gassed. The guy's, 6 years younger, a little bit gassed. Okay, here's the question. Are you ready to do something that maybe you didn't think you had to do tonight? To go from the outside to the inside, where you were never famous for. Never really famous for. You got knocked out on the inside by Leon Smith one time. Are you willing to go inside and make history? Are you willing to go inside and grab history? Are you willing to go inside and be great for one night? For the next 4 rounds, the next 3 rounds? Are you willing to do that? Yes, I am. And Ben was willing to be his partner, not in crime, but in greatness. And that's what it was. And I'll tell you one thing on my analytical side of it, which I hope the people look for, and I hear that they do sometimes, hopefully. I thought that, I always say that there's a reason why someone's getting hit clean. And Ben started to catch some right hands. And one of the reasons was that Eubank, when he jabs, he's got the advantage. He's taller, he's bigger. He gives it up by leaning in with the jab. He jabs and he leans in. He reaches in. And that's a flaw that's got to be picked up and corrected by the trainers in the gym. And he paid for that flaw. Finally, Ben started to recognize, instead of just charging for the right hand, instead of just launching right hands, instead of just getting over anxious, he got a little bit more controlled, Ben that is, a little bit more steady, a little bit more patient, and he allowed Eubank to do some of his work for him. To reach in with the jab and time him with the right hand when he got close enough. That was one of the technical turning points for me of the fight. And that's it. I mean, that's my summation technically on the fight. I don't know what else to add from a technical standpoint. I'll let you take us to the finish, but
yeah, that was a great breakdown. I think you made a great point of in regards to Ben with the hands behind Eubank on the inside, where he had to make his money, and he gave I thought the referee was too involved early on and too quick to
Yes.
break it up. But when he's putting his hands behind his back, you're giving him that opportunity and the excuse to do it. He didn't do it in the later rounds. And like you said, the ref didn't break it up, and he had success. The one thing I thought that was missing was the body attack.
The ref must have heard me. He must have got the memo because I was screaming at him. Screaming, saying, get out of there, ref. Leave them alone, damn it. Let him work. Because Ben, if he's going to win, he's going to have to work on the inside. Let him work. And then finally, he let him work.
And going along with that, talking about on the inside and working, I thought he was missing the body attack is what I was saying before early on from Ben. And the body attack came later in the rounds. And I thought he had a lot of success. I wanted to see it early on. You got a guy who's drained, a guy who wants to be on the outside, take his legs away. He started doing that later in the fight.
And not only that, a guy with a big body. He's bigger, right? He's longer. He's taller. Doesn't
got the frame.
Doesn't that equate into there's more target to hit?
100%. So I think you covered it perfectly.
Can I finish with one thing? Can I put one exclamation point, Teddy Atlas point, if you will, for whatever that's worth, on the fight? I think I covered it fairly well, but from the perspective of how great it was, I would just like to put this notation, this bow on it. Neither one of them from their history gave us a reason to expect this kind of behavior in the fight. You know, it's one thing to fight like a champ, but it's another thing to behave like one. On this given night, they both did. And they went far beyond what any kind of past references or past experiences could have prepared us for. I mean, you had the PED things, so who knows if they're real or not, but you had those accusations with Ben. You had him, the smaller guy. You had the back and forth about the hatred for each other and about their fathers, and if one father's not coming to the fight. You had Eubank, where people had wondered about how he could handle an inside fight with his chin hold up, and what would he fight with enough gusto? All of that. There were reasons to there was no reasons to really believe that they would, at the end of the day, show the kind of fortitude they showed. And here's my reason why they did. It was always in them. They never, like a lot of people in anything, any vocation, any battle in life, there was no reason to ever know. They never had to know. They never had to go to a place to find out. And I think I know why. Not only did they go to that place and willing to go to that place, but why they were able to sustain the effort and show the effort they did when they went there. I think it had to do with geography. I think it had to do with fathers. I think it had to do with where they live. I always talk about the geography being important in the ring. Who fights in the place that best suits their skills? In this case, if this fight's not in London, in England, I don't think that either one of them find what they found, because I think it came down to pride. You have to have a reason to be strong. You don't know how strong you can be until you have a reason. And it's kind of like, you've read those stories, bud. You've heard those stories where the mother picks up a car because their child is underneath it. Where does that strength come from? It comes from having to be there because of the moment. Because of the moment that they never knew, because they never had that moment. They never had that moment. This moment came for both of them to have that kind of strength, that extraordinary strength that had never been shown in their life before, because both of them had to live beyond this day. They had to live in a country named England. They had to live in a country named England with their fathers' reputations standing there above them, with their own reputations standing there aside of them. They had to be able to back up all of the stuff that had been said, to erase it, and to also justify the reason for this fight, the reason to care about these guys, even the reason to remember their fathers. And I think when the moment came to have to go to a place they never been before, to have to be stronger than they ever been before, I think that it was all about that. It was about, we have to be able to remember that whatever we do now will be immortalized. It will be memorialized in this country forever. I think that's where the strength came. They could not allow themselves not to be strong, knowing that if they weren't strong, that would be written forever. And I think if this fight was in Chicago, or if it was in wherever, some other place in Nebraska, I don't know that would have hovered over them. I don't know that would have tugged at them. I don't know that would have reminded them of they could not be weak. Because they're weak tonight, they have no future. They have no reputation. And everybody wants to have a legacy. And this was their legacy now.
Yeah. The Born Rivals, they did the legacy proud. And this incredible display of toughness, guts, heart. I think we covered it all. The last thing I did want to ask you very quickly is, could we just touch on the rematch? Turki Al-Shalik said in September he would like to see the rematch. This was a 2-fight deal. If they're healed up and no injuries, he'd like to see it as soon as September. What do you think of the rematch? Does it play out differently? Do you see it the same?
You know what? It's a great question. It's an important question. I'll break it down real quick in parts. September's too fast for me. Too fast for me as a trainer. I'm telling you the truth. I know the money's there. I get it. I know that what they did, and I know people want to see it, and I know it was already in place. There was already a 2-fight deal in place, which they do nowadays. That's what they do. That's what Usyk and Fury did. That's what they all do. If I was the trainer of either one, I would demand, no, I want my fighter to have longer than 4 or 5 months off, or whatever it is. Whatever that would be. How many months would that be? Let's see. May, June, July, August, September. It would only be 4 months. I want more time off. After a battle like this, with a lot of damage, it was a brutal fight. I want more time for both guys. That's number one. Number two, I don't know that the winner is going to be served the way you might think in the rematch. He's 34 years old. He fought the fight of his life. They both did, but he fought the fight of his life. He's 35 years old. With all the stuff that won't be there next time. There won't be a father showing up unexpectedly the next time. That's done. That can only be done once. That done. That extra boost of whatever that boost was, that's not there next time. Again, his legs started to look a little worn, but he mentally he dug down. He refused to allow his legs to make the choice. He made the choice, but maybe the legs will have a bigger say in that decision next time at 35 or closer to 35 years of age after that tough fight. So maybe the younger man gets served by this fight. That's my feeling about it.
Yeah, and now maybe if Eubank could pull it off again, the Canelo fight makes a lot more sense and will make him a lot more money. So
he's going to have enough money from these 2 fights, believe me. But yeah, if he wanted to fight Canelo, now that's a fight that people will buy, that people will be interested in. People will say, okay. Before, no. Because he didn't earn the right to believe in him in that kind of level fight, to believe that he warranted that kind of fight, or he warranted your support in that kind of fight. He legitimized himself. He did. I know he was always a fighter. Don't get me wrong, but he legitimized himself in a different way. They both did.